Bitter heat in the summer. Brutal cold in the winter. Violent weather patterns occurring across the globe with more frequency and greater destructive capability than ever before.
When we look at all these storm cells happening around the globe, it seems that the power and focus of these storms is almost being engineered. We can look at the paths of hurricanes and see that they're not random anymore.
What if there's a more sinister explanation? Something man-made? Some say there's a top-secret government device that can destroy our world. Capable of causing earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis. Conspiracy theorists say it can even be used to control your mind. Has the U.S. government created the ultimate weapon of war? Something more devastating than a nuclear bomb? If so, who will feel the brunt of such a terrifying technology? And what can we do to stop it? Tonight, we'll unseal the government's secret files on HAARP. What if the history you were taught in school was all a lie? Is our government controlled by a secret society? Welcome to the world of conspiracy, where cover-ups, secrets, and hidden agendas all trace back to a single source. We're about to unseal the secret files the government doesn't want you to know about. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. About 180 miles from Anchorage lies the solitary town of Gakona, Alaska. It is here where, according to some, one of the most dangerous projects ever conceived by the U.S. government is currently taking place, and the public knows virtually nothing about it. It's the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, better known as HAARP.
The HAARP installation is a 35-acre facility that has over 160 antenna arrays all linked up together. They have a 3.6 million watt transmitter which shoots ELF, or extremely low frequency waves, into our ionosphere, which then bounce back to Earth, increasing exponentially in power.
The government says HAARP is merely a research facility. Some experts believe that the real purpose of this top-secret installation is as a weapon against our enemies, and maybe even our own people. The potential damage caused by this facility has already proven all too real.
So there's some that theorize that these mass animal deaths are and could be connected to the HAARP installation doing these experiments, which again, we have no idea what the effects truly are.
Dairy cattle afflicted with behavioral aberrations, damaged fetal tissue, cataracts. Unexpected wildlife mutations have been cropping up near the radiation paths of these antennas for years.
It's theorized that when HAARP is in operation and they're shooting these ELF waves up into the ionosphere, that's affecting animal migrations and herds of animals.
The list of HAARP's unintentional side effects goes on.
If you are affecting whale migrations or honeybee migrations, you're not just affecting those animals, you're affecting planet Earth as a whole. People should be highly concerned if HAARP is really affecting the fundamental powers of nature.
The origin of HAARP is shrouded in mystery and deception. Unsealed case file. The HAARP patent. 1987, Houston, Texas. The patents, which would allegedly lead to HAARP, are filed by an oil company physicist.
In looking at the actual patent for the HAARP instrumentation, it says here on the cover, a method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, or magnetosphere.
The official goals of HAARP? to communicate with submarines deep underwater, to search for sites of military interest using powerful radio waves, to enhance radio transmission by heating and interacting with the Earth's ionosphere. But it's the alleged unofficial goals of HAARP that most worry its detractors.
This patent has all sorts of military applications. It can be employed as an early warning device. It says right here, it puts unprecedented amounts of power in the Earth's atmosphere.
The government continues to deny that the facility is being used in an attempt to affect the weather. But patent number 4686605 says something very different.
We're talking about a weapon. So it's very interesting that all throughout this patent, it's actually spelled out in black and white the actual uses for this to be some type of weather modification.
But just because HAARP could affect the weather doesn't mean it has.
With weather manipulation, you can turn a cloudy day into a sunny day, you can turn a sunny day into a rainy day, even create a tornado out in the middle of nowhere if you really wanted to.
Coming up next, are natural disasters really natural? Is HAARP responsible for the dramatic rise in extreme weather conditions? And what is the government planning to do about it? Many attribute the upturn in severe weather around the world to man-made global warming. But with the creation of the high-powered antenna array known as HAARP, is it possible that mankind's role in the weather is more than incidental? Is a top-secret government project actually controlling the weather? We've done it before. Unsealed case file. Operation Popeye. March 1967. The Ho Chi Minh Trail. Ground zero in the battle to control the weather. Seeking an edge in the intensifying Vietnam War, the U.S. military launches a bold initiative.
Operation Popeye was a weather manipulation program during the Vietnam War. What they wanted to do was seed clouds or create clouds to then cause a torrential downpour on troops on the battlefield.
The goal? Increase rainfall and deny the North Vietnamese access to their supply routes.
And they did. They extended a monsoon season by 30 days.
Officially, the aircraft and their crews were part of normal weather recon operations. But in reality, something far more sinister was going on. And some conspiracy theorists think the government is making it happen again. Unsealed case file. Hurricane Katrina. August 23rd, 2005. The Bahamas. The National Weather Service begins tracking a medium-sized storm heading to Florida. Mysteriously, the unremarkable storm suddenly transforms into a Category 5 hurricane with winds gusting up to 175 miles per hour. Some say Hurricane Katrina was not an act of nature, but an act of war.
When Hurricane Katrina stopped, she went on a very straight path. It's not a path that most hurricanes take. It was almost a beeline. It was a beeline right through into the Gulf of Mexico, aiming right at the heart of New Orleans. That was such a precise hurricane that a lot of people began to wonder, was that being manipulated?
If true, it could mean our enemies are attacking us, using the weather as a weapon. 1 year after the costliest hurricane season in U.S. history, not a single hurricane made landfall in the U.S. Is it possible that America is using HAARP to avoid attacks from our enemies?
Weather warfare and counter-weather warfare measures, each of which would be using high-frequency radio waves to control small climates over specific areas. And a lot of people think this is exactly the future of warfare.
Another coincidence? HAARP was rushed into completion right after the 2005 hurricane season. Some researchers who have been studying HAARP believe they have learned to recognize the warning signs. They're known as HAARP rings or scalar squares.
Now, basically what HAARP rings are these pulses of energy that turn up on radar screens. You will see radar picking up circular image on a radar screen, an intense energy pulse. And then between 48 and 72 hours later, there'll be a major Earth climate event.
Is it possible that HAARP is responsible for other recent extreme weather events? Some say HAARP was the cause of atmospheric irregularities over Japan, just days before the massive earthquake and tsunami devastated the area.
72 hours in advance of the tsunami that knocked out the Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan, there was just such an energy pulse. Conspiracy theorists are saying, did a country, let's say China, want to create a nuclear event in Japan? So they triggered an earthquake.
April 28, 1997. Athens, Georgia. Former U.S. Defense Secretary William Cohen makes a chilling admission.
Others are engaging in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts. William Cohen, former U.S. Defense Secretary.
Coming up, if HAARP is capable of controlling the weather, what else can it control?
It's a human destruction device, but it's on a biblical scale, on a global scale.
Some experts say that Project HAARP in Gakona, Alaska, is a dangerous U.S. government operation that can control the weather. But many Americans feel that weather control is just a tiny part of the damage HAARP can do. Unsealed case file, radio wave warfare.
So the patent regarding how radio waves can affect communications devices, interfere with communications devices, interfere with the ability of guided missiles to communicate. What if we could use HAARP to turn the missiles around so the very cruise missiles that an enemy might launch at us suddenly turn around and fly back at the enemy? Can we do this?
If I look at some of the specific call-outs here, this one here says, an invention that provides the ability to put unprecedented amounts of power into the Earth's atmosphere at strategic locations.
It's right here in the patent. You can open up holes in the atmosphere in such a way that you target the enemy with lethal solar radiation. You can also literally fry your enemy. Now imagine how terrifying that would be.
Even more chilling, HAARP is only one of several such transmitters around the world. Arecibo, Puerto Rico. Vasselsursk, Russia. Tromsø, Norway. These arrays all have the capability of heating the ionosphere with megabeams of radiation.
I think no matter what explanation you give for HAARP, there's going to be dangers to the research that they're conducting.
Could HAARP literally burn a hole in Earth's atmosphere?
Imagine the awesome power of an enemy ripping open the ionosphere over New York City, and all these happy people bouncing along from Port Authority to get their first Starbucks in the morning literally turn into bacon crisp.
At an estimated cost of $250 million, HAARP allegedly uses inconceivable amounts of energy when operating at full power, and its effects could be felt over an entire hemisphere. In recent years, mysterious cloud formations have been appearing in the sky with alarming frequency.
A lot of conspiracy buffs have said that the whole concept of trails of chemicals spread in a pattern in the upper atmosphere are part of HAARP. They're being used to focus radio waves.
Researchers have become suspicious that the contrails expelled from today's jets are thicker than in the past. Some believe it's all part of the mechanism of weather warfare.
Our government claims that chemtrails. What we are spreading are basically oxides, metallic oxides in the atmosphere, but it's for research purposes. We're not doing anything damaging.
Scientists think these chemtrails may contain substances designed to alter the upper atmosphere. The goal? To make HAARP even more effective at bouncing dangerous levels of radiation off the ionosphere to any target on Earth. And what if the target isn't a country, but just one person? Some experts think that hidden in those rays could be a message.
Basically, all the way back in 1994, the Air Force conducted an experiment using radio to try to put thoughts into the brains of test subjects. Could sound waves implant certain kinds of emotions into test subjects? Is there real science behind this, or is this a tin hat theory? Well, the answer is there is real science behind it.
The Air Force denies any such program exists.
Basically, the brain is an electromagnetic device. Thoughts, what we call thoughts, ideas, visions, all move around our brain, inside our brain, by electrons. If you can interfere with those electrons in certain ways, what do you create? Panic. You create flight.
And it wouldn't be the first time the military has dabbled in experiments with mind control. Documents unearthed in 1977 revealed a CIA mind control research project called MK Ultra.
Although it seems a little bit far-fetched, if you look at the past, the CIA launched a program that has been known as MK Ultra that was aimed to control the human mind. So if they've done it before, who's to say they're not doing it now?
Coming up, the shocking report which blows the lid off the government's plans for a future full of weather control. Bigger than 26 football fields, costing $250 million, including an array of 180 antennas. Is the government's top secret military weapon hiding in plain sight with a goal of controlling the world's weather? The military says they have no such plan for HAARP. The paper trail says otherwise.
According to the report, the ability to generate precipitation, fog, and storms on Earth, or to modify space weather, and the production of artificial weather all are a part of an integrated set of military technologies.
The future of warfare may not be bombs or bullets, but earthquakes and tsunamis. After all, if you never know a shot has been fired, you may not even know you're at war until you've already lost.
blueprint for HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program.
What does HAARP do? HAARP is a large antenna where we beam radio frequency energy up into the upper atmosphere, and we create on a small scale what the sun normally does.
The assignment came that the Navy and the Air Force were to manage the program.
Applications discussed in the patents included destroying missiles. Communications control and disruption were included. There were some other ideas both to possibly modify weather and finally to lift a portion of the upper atmosphere further out into space where hopefully it would be able to deflect missile trajectories.
In 1983, I did radio tomography with 30 watts looking for oil in the ground. I found 26 oil wells over a 9-state area, and 100% of the time was accurate with just 30 watts of power beaming straight into solid rock. HAARP uses 1 billion watts beamed straight into the ionosphere for experiments. If you do this with 1 billion watts, the vibrations are so violent that the entire piano would shake. In fact, the whole house would shake. In fact, the vibrations could be so severe underground that could even cause an earthquake. Earthquake, earthquake, earthquake,
HAARP can create some of the effects that the sun creates that are similar to the aurora borealis.
HAARP can paint designs in the sky, if you will. You know, it can take the beam and move it in any pattern that the scientist who's doing an experiment might want to do.
The Morrises are experts in non-lethal weapons technology. They are consultants to the Defense Department, CIA, NSA, and world-renowned think tanks.
The technology necessary to project three-dimensional images to a point in space requires no new breakthroughs in science. We have the technology now.
Overall, the non-lethal weapons development program is aimed at giving our military options between talking and shooting.
Specific system development we really can't talk about.
But the Morrises did talk in general about secret military experiments with lifelike 3D projections in the sky called holograms.
Holograms on a battlefield would be to divert the attention of the enemy, to deliver propaganda or something very frightening to make the enemy run away if you think that he will believe that what you're sending is really an angel, a devil, a UFO.
And where could this type of weaponry be tested? Perhaps not coincidentally, along the US-Mexico border at the Army's electronic proving ground in Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Keep in mind that test facilities like Fort Huachuca in Arizona are electrical optical test beds, and part of what they're testing are the effects of these electro-optical devices on a target population.
And the target population may be us.
America has to test American equipment in America.
The ultimate weapon in the info war would be so secret, so invisible, so undetectable, you would never know your mind was under attack. At Laurentian University in Ontario, Canada, a young student is about to undergo one of the strangest experiences of her life.
They're hooking Denise's brain up to an electroencephalograph, or EEG machine. For 30 to 40 minutes, this will monitor her brainwaves, while these electric coils attached on either side of her head will immerse her brain in an electromagnetic field. Her brain actually completes the circuit between the two coils. The field pulsing through her brain is less powerful than one given off by a digital clock radio, but acutely controlled and focused at specific parts of the brain, it will open Denise's mind to outside suggestion by this man.
We're going to do a switch to see if it's right left hemisphere. Lose your final tempo.
Dr. Michael Persinger is a professor of psychology and neuroscience. He is designing ways to put the power of mind control to good use. Dr. Persinger's research focuses on brain trauma, and he uses carefully controlled doses of electromagnetic radiation to induce relaxation and alleviate pain.
So what Sandra did was to initiate a opiate releasing pattern. That's a burst firing field that is stimulated once every 4 seconds. And that produces relaxation and a very pleasant sensation. Similarly, using the appropriate fields, we can induce fear and apprehension, but clearly that would be unethical in that setting.
Dr. Persinger's tests suggest that carefully programmed electromagnetic frequencies can tap into individual brains and influence people's emotions.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple, and if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish.
Many experts are skeptical of such an Orwellian scenario, but Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then, over the television, more traditional way, as you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening. We know the mysterious PSYOPs plane can beam persuasive sounds and pictures into people's television sets. Will it someday beam disturbing frequencies directly into the mind? Mind control will be the ultimate non-lethal weapon.
Most people kind of in the back of their mind know there's something going on, but it doesn't have anything to do with football or basketball or paying my rent, so I don't want to fool with it. It's not important.
Yeah,
but everybody kind of feels there's something going on.
Yeah, because most people live in a box, and they don't want to come out the box.
No doubt about it.
They open the lid every so now and again and just peep outside and they close it.
Yep.
Do you think the governments are going to let us know at some point?
I think, I'll tell you what, again, it's just my opinion. Norio Hayakawa is a very good friend of mine. He's rather famous in the speaking circuit. And he's always talking about how he believes that the government is going to stage some kind of a UFO landing, and it's going to frighten everybody, and all the nations will come together and collectively come together as a trick.
Like a War of the Worlds.
Yeah, like a War of the Worlds,
right.
And it's all going to be a trick, he thinks.
Right.
It's all going to be planned. And I thought, well, wait a minute, if you're going to get, there's a lot of intelligent people in this world, and governments are not stupid. So if you're going to pull off something like that, it better look good. because it's going to be
Absolutely.
right. It better look good and very realistic. I have then said I can look at the same facts that he's stating and come up with a different conclusion. I'm of the opinion that very well possibly there's going to be an alien invasion. And the government knows it.
Right.
And consequently, they are trying to prepare the people so that they don't react. Because that was, as far as I'm concerned, that was a CIA operation when Orson Welles back in the late 30s, 38, 39, did that War of the Worlds thing on radio. I'm sure the CIA was involved in that. And they wanted to see how the people will react if the people really thought that there was an alien invasion from another world. It was called War of the Worlds.
Right.
With Orson Welles, and people went berserk. Well, I don't think they're going to go berserk today. I think too many people in this world have already had experiences. They know something's up. But again, I would say I'm thinking that there very well might be a legitimate invasion soon.